on a second. I just realized I'm not logged in. Thought I was. Okay. Hasn't joined yet or something. No, it's 6:30 by my watch. This meeting of USD 49 Board of Education is called to order at 6:30 p.m., July 19th, 2021. We have people in the audience. Welcome to our meeting. First item on the agenda is to approve our agenda. Our agenda is available on board docs, a link to which is available on our USD 49 website. I move to accept the agenda as written. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Greg. Do we have any discussion about the agenda?
Mr. President, I'd like to add are we going to have an executive session? It says possible if needed.
I do not have anything for the board.
Do you want to have something?
Yes, through the guidance of KSD, they suggested to go, it's under the guidelines of safety, school safety for student staff.
Okay.
And it should take long, maybe 10 minutes, and wherever you think you should put it.
Well, it won't be me, but yes. I understand. Great. I think that's legitimate. So, yes.
One thing before you adopt the agenda, you might notice in the bills, we had an updated version in the supplemental approvals for the bills, and it's because the bus that we ordered, that you approved a while back,
Right.
we just got word that it may show up before our next board meeting, so we went ahead and added the supplemental so we could actually write the check, because they don't deliver until they have a check. And so since it was already approved, we just went ahead and updated it today, so when you're approving, if you looked at the very first agenda that came out, it didn't have that bus purchase, really the check.
So what number is that now?
To the supplementals.
Is that consent agenda or?
Yes.
What number is that?
It would be in the bills.
So it's under financial?
Yeah.
Oh, it's under financial. Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
sorry, in the financial.
Nope. Just want to make sure I'm
Yeah.
updated as much as I think I am. Okay, thank you. All right, we are discussing the agenda.
Excuse me,
Yep.
does Craig need to amend his motion, or since we already have it in the agenda, we don't need to change it?
I don't think we need it. I think we're just agreeing that we have an executive session meeting.
Okay.
I think we're okay, since it's in the agenda. Okay, any more discussion? Okay, all in favor of the agenda, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Michelle, do you hear that?
Is she on?
She hasn't joined.
Oh, okay. Well, all right, the motion passes 5-0. Motion passes 5-0. I should note, everyone, that we have, vote electronically the same way, everybody. We have one board member on Zoom, not yet, but she will be, and board member Bickle was not able to make it tonight. He was called away to Kansas City in a tech emergency. Next item is something we have on the agenda. Our agenda is available on board docs, as I mentioned. If you're viewing our agenda, you will notice that we post our mission, vision, and core values right up front. I think it's a good idea because otherwise we might not remember why we're here. That's supposed to be funny, but I guess not. Our mission is to provide a quality learning experience for every student in every classroom every day. Okay, and now the item for which we're all waiting for, I'm sure. Item number 2, reorganization of the board. As a reminder, at our first meeting in July, we have this reorganization meeting. And so we elect the president, vice president, and we appoint the clerk, keeper of records, deputy board clerk, and treasurer. May I have a nomination for president of the board for a term starting today and running until the first meeting in July 2022?
I would like to nominate Craig Pallister.
Okay. Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Any discussion on that motion?
So, Mike, we need to go ahead with that motion? Okay.
Well, yes. Any discussion? I have a point I was gonna see if anybody else wanted to nominate Tammy for the position, so I'm just letting people know that,
That's what I was going to do.
okay.
But I didn't know if you could make both nominations under the same motion?
No, we cannot. We'll just do this motion, and if people want to,
Bill?
No, you've got a motion on the
Yeah.
floor that you need to vote on.
so my point is that if this fails, then I'm gonna nominate Tammy, or you can nominate Tammy, or someone can. If it passes, then I'll pass the gavel to you, Craig. Any more discussion on that?
Yeah, the reason I second the motion is that Craig has been our vice president for the last year. I know he has had the training to be a president. I know he has over 30 years of administrative experience. He's had his, about 20 years of his children has gone through 489 and now has a grandchild that's going through 49. And so I think he's got the experience and has had the training. He's been to all the meetings, but he's very consistent, and I just think he'd be a good candidate, having the training and being vice president this year.
Yeah, I agree. Certainly my announcement that I was going to nominate Tammy is no reflection on Craig, because my plan was to nominate Craig for vice president if no one else does.
Mike, do we have a way, I just noticed I don't have a mic. Should I move over?
Yes, please do.
Would that be?
It's a small room, though, I think we heard. Okay, any more discussion? Okay, I want to call for a motion on the, I'm going to call for a vote on the motion to elect Craig as our board president for a year. All in favor, please say aye.
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 We have two, I believe. Anybody opposed? Nay. Anybody abstaining? Okay, motion fails 2-3.
Could we have a roll call? I mean, I didn't hear or see. Can you show of hands?
I think it was, yes, I think Lori and Alan.
And we don't have the person online yet?
No.
Okay.
We good? Okay, we'll vote electronically the same way you voted verbally. All right. Do I have a nomination for anyone else for president of the board from running from today to July 2022?
I nominate Tammy Wellbrock.
Okay. Thank you. Do I have a second on that motion? I'll second that motion. Do we have any discussion on that motion? Okay, I'm going to call a vote unless Michelle's not, okay. Call for a vote on that motion to elect Tammy Wellbrock as our president for the next year. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, anybody abstaining? Obviously not. All right, that motion passes 3-2.
Mr. President, you need four
You need
votes.
four.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, you are correct.
So he gets to stay as president
Therefore,
then?
you have to stay as president.
Well, that'll be interesting,
President is
since I'm not running.
So that's tabled till next meeting?
That's what you want to do. You can't decide it tonight. But until a new president
You're right, I forgot that
is
we-
elected, then the current president would continue.
I move we table it till the next meeting.
Okay. I really didn't plan to do.
So congratulations,
I was
Mike
going to hand off
Walker.
another 2 hours of my job.
There wasn't a second.
There wasn't a second on that, so it may not be tabled.
Oh, I'm sorry, there was a motion. I would
Well,
like
you
to
know what?
second that motion to table.
Okay. We have a motion to
thank you.
table and a second. Do we have any discussion? I'll ask the question, if we hold that vote again, will there be anybody changing their mind on their position?
It would just be two
Knowing
more
that-
We
people,
would have two more board members.
2 more voices.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Do we have? I
I'm
mean,
asking, basically, let me be clear about this. I'm asking Alan or Lori if they would change their vote if we had to vote again.
Well, we didn't have any discussion or didn't have any on
I'm not
why,
sure what
or the
that has to do
qualifications,
with it.
whatever like that, to make it change.
So we can do that now. We're
I
in
mean, if you
discussion
want
of
to,
the.
if somebody has something to, Craig, you had the nomination, do you want to mention why you nominated her?
I think everybody that's on this Board of Education could take the position as president after there's 3 or 4 of us that have been on for 2 years. It is a duty that no one is ready for. I think Mike would agree to that. You don't know all the stuff. So like a lot of positions, you don't know what you don't know until you get into the position of president of the board. And so,
Oh, I 100% agree. I've said it many times. Okay.
I have a motion on the
And I
table.
seconded it.
And it's been seconded.
Okay, then we had discussion. All in favor of the motion to table, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, who was that? Tammy?
Tammy and
Craig? Lori, was that you? You said, okay, all opposed, say no. No.
No.
No.
Okay, motion fails to pass because we didn't have 4 votes for it. So I'm going to go ahead and motion again. Well, let me ask this question. Knowing that we have to have 4 board members to pass the motion, is there any possibility if we hold the vote again that we get 4 votes?
Did I misunderstand you, Mike? Did you change your vote? Did you vote no?
I voted no on the table because I wanted to
Oh, I
try to run the election again if we can. All right. I guess we are tabling it by default, right? Bill? If we voted to, no, we didn't, we did not, the motion did not pass.
You're at a stalemate. You need to figure it out one way or the other. That's
All
where
right.
you are.
Okay,
So we are in still more discussion?
yes, we are.
I guess my question to Craig is, you've been at that position, do you have a reason that you do not choose to take it at this time?
I would accept it if I was voted in by the Board of Education. I would accept the president's position if I'm voted in as vice president. As I was last year, I would accept it.
Okay, good. Is there any reason that you don't want Tammy to have the job?
I think I mentioned, about Craig's qualifications, and I don't know, there wasn't many presented on Tammy's this time, but I know she's a great board member. I mean, is that what you want me to say?
No, I just would.
And maybe Tammy can share why she would like or not prefer instead of Craig, I don't know.
Well, a year ago, we had some discussions, Craig and I, and at that time, I was asked my interest in president, and the idea then would be that whoever would be interested in the president this year would put their name in for vice president from last year. I had just accepted an appointment at a job at Fort Hays, and it was a lot on my plate to make that commitment to vice president because I didn't know what kind of job I was looking at for the year. So I opted, and Craig stepped forward, which I really appreciated. This year, I'm no longer in that position as appointed at Fort Hays. I'm back to running my own private business. And I think one of the thoughts was, and I realize that these thoughts were totally privy and subject to whatever took place here, but when talking with Craig, if indeed I would follow him, as was kind of discussed, just by, he and I, we're not the ones that are choosing this board, that's not my intention, but at that point, I had told him my interest would be to follow him as vice president if he became president, and thus I'd be vice president this year. And I would do whatever is the board's intention. I then realized that, and this is totally selfish, but I have a child that is graduating Hayes High. And so if there is a little bit of fun and benefit to having a civic servant role that doesn't pay any funds, it's the desire that I got to sign my son's diploma. And so, does that make me more qualified because I have a son graduating high school? No, it made the difference, in the year, and that's what I just asked Craig, would he be okay if we switched? And so, therefore, that's what makes me any more qualified. I guess if I haven't proven my qualifications up to now, I don't know what else to add.
Have you had an opportunity to do the board leadership training?
Yes.
The president training?
Well, no, I haven't done the president training, but so no, I have not. But I have taken, and I am scheduled for it to take. So it would be yet.
Well, hello, Lance. I'm going to put you on speakerphone, okay?
It would be yet in the time frame. When is that one? You got me down for the board leadership. It's in a month, so I would have it here early on before. So
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can do that.
Okay, we have
maybe
board
put him up to the mic.
member Bickle just called in. He's joining the meeting at 6:45 p.m. I'm going to call for a.
Put them on hold and I'm good. Okay. Sorry about that, Mike.
No, it's okay. I didn't know if you're on to me or what. I'm going to call the vote again. Can I call my motion again that I called?
And yeah, it's just so I'm up to speed as far as what we
You
have
have to
here.
have a new motion.
We have to have a new motion.
I meant if I can make the same motion again.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Lance?
Yeah, I can. And yeah, just so I hear the motion and then I can comment as well.
Okay.
Mr. President, I move that we have Craig Pallister as our president for the next school year.
Okay.
Second that.
We have a motion on the floor.
Seconded?
We have 1 second on the floor. Do we have any discussion? About, obviously, I support Craig in both positions. I think that I'm going to vote against this motion again because Tammy and Craig have agreed that this year be Tammy's thing, and then Craig would step up next year. And I don't
And
think that's a problem.
I would echo Mike's comments. I know Tammy. I've heard from both Tammy and Craig on this that both of them have discussed this. It's okay with both of them. So I also would support that as well, Mike. Exactly what you said.
Okay, thank you.
But there's a motion on the table.
There is.
And seconded.
And we're in discussion right now.
Oh, I see.
Any more discussion on that motion?
The only thing I would like to, on the discussion, is that I wish that we had an opportunity to have this discussion before this date, and we'd have this all figured out, because we weren't privy to some of those discussions that you've had.
Well, we couldn't have those discussions because it was the open meetings.
Yeah, an open meeting, we could, just like it is
Yeah.
now, but before the
Right.
day we have to do it, so we could, ask
So it
more
should have been on
questions, you should know.
last
Yeah.
month's agenda.
So it sounds like there's a discussion going on.
I had both Craig, I've talked to Craig and I've talked to Tammy. I didn't
Sure.
solicit anybody, I just said, is there an interest? We discussed the issue, okay. And then I understood there was some discussion last year before I was elected.
Sure.
That was last year, a whole
And
year
it's a
ago.
discussion here
I think that was
anyway.
pretty
Yeah.
well understood.
Sure.
And so there was
That there
discussion
was-
with you and Lance and the other two board members?
No, there's not, I didn't say that.
Oh, I thought Lance said that he had.
I said that, well, this is last year.
I'm talking about this year. I thought you just said that you had discussion with those two.
No, I have not had discussions. I received
Okay.
some input from these two
Thank you.
folks. Maybe I said discussions, I meant to say. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor of that motion, please, say aye.
Can you
Aye.
repeat?
The motion, this is the motion to elect Craig as the.
Wait.
Oops,
Can
I'm
you
sorry.
repeat the motion again, please?
Yep, it's to elect Craig as the president of.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's the one you, I think, second. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Nay?
Nay.
For Dave.
Was that? 4-2, or is that 3-3? Please vote electronically the same way. Jess, put down Lance's vote as a no on that one.
Yes.
Right. But I couldn't quite hear. Was that 4-2?
Jess should have
Mike,
the,
would you vote? It keeps switching our meters, it says yes.
No. Well, I said no. I meant to type no.
Yeah, just shake your hand.
Can we do a roll call vote or a hand vote or something? Do we know for sure?
but there's some, couple of things that bother me. Why the board could call a board member up when they want to have an extra vote. He did not call in. We had a board member call him.
You'll have to, it won't catch.
Okay, let's do a show of hands. Who voted in favor of that motion? Who voted opposed to that motion?
You have my vote,
And
Mike.
Alan,
No.
Lance is on the phone saying he votes no. Anybody abstaining?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. An abstention
I'm gonna-
votes as
Jess,
a,
I'm
counts as a
gonna
no.
abstain.
Correct.
A no vote, abstention counts as a no vote when you're voting. So the motion failed 4-2. I move to elect Tammy Welbrock as the president for the next year. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Lance is seconded. Any discussion on that? I'm going to call for a vote. Oh, go ahead, Craig.
The only discussion I have that worries me is having a board member called right before a vote by another board member.
He called in.
He called you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor of that motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Lance?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed to the motion, please say nay.
Nay.
Okay. Anybody abstaining?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, so I'm going to vote aye. Jess, do you have Lance's vote on this one?
Yes.
Let's do a show of hands because I don't know who voted for what. I voted in favor of the motion that I made. Who else voted in favor of the motion?
Can you repeat the motion?
To elect Tammy Welbrock as the president of the board.
Oh,
So we had 1, 2, 3, and Lance said 4. Motion passes. We had one member, 4 of us voting in favor of it, 1 opposing it, and 1 abstaining. Correct?
right.
Okay, motion passes 4-2. Well, that was painful, everybody. All right, so now I'm going to switch seats because now Tammy is the president of the board.
Do I literally switch?
Yeah, you got to sit in the middle.
You even get the gavel.
You do. Congratulations, Tammy. That was ridiculously painful, but I know you're going to do a great job. I'll come get my water. Here, I'll move it down.
Well, I guess we get to continue. Thank you, I guess, is the right word. But I would like to thank Mike Walker. Mike has had, I just confirmed that he had worked 2 back-to-back, served 2 back-to-back years as president. And, you know, certainly when people ask us for newbies what it's been like, well, we got to come in on delayed negotiations at first and then pretty much followed by a global pandemic. And Mike was leading us through all of that as the president. And I think you've done a lot of things behind the scene to be healing, to be positive, productive. And so thank you for your leadership.
Good, thank you. You're welcome.
I'm sure you,
Thanks for your nice comments.
you're welcome. So, as of this time, and my understanding, then we go right into the vice president.
That is correct.
So, is there a motion to approve a vice president? Excuse me, do we have a motion to name a vice
I
president?
move to name Craig Pallister the vice president for the next year.
Do we have a second? Lori?
A second.
Any discussion? And I think we already, you said you would accept whatever role.
Yes.
Okay. Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor of Craig being our vice president, please say aye
Aye.
and vote electronically. We still have Lance, okay? Those opposed, say nay. Abstentions? You voted, didn't you? Okay. So is it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 0 that he passed? Okay, so
Congratulations.
congratulations, Craig. Thank you for your
You can stay
leadership.
where you are.
Stay where I'm at.
You don't have to move.
Now,
President's prerogative, though, to move you wherever she wants.
Yeah. Down there.
so does then the motion, now we go to board clerk, keeper of records, and deputy board clerk. Is that a motion or are those appointments, Ron? Sorry.
Those are appointments.
We need to get votes on those?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what was that? You
I'll
want to
make
make the
the
motion?
For the appointment of the board clerk, keeper of the records, and the deputy board clerk, I move the appointment of Jess Reeling as the board clerk and keeper of the records for 2021. Renee Booth as the deputy board clerk per KSA 728202C.
I second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of Jess Reeling as board clerk, keeper of the records, and Renee Booth as deputy board clerk, please say aye
Aye.
and vote accordingly. Those opposing, say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, vote electronically. Looks like that passed 6 to 0 as well.
Yep. I think so.
And then we also, can I have a motion to accept for a board treasurer?
I move we appoint Carla Fellholter as a board treasurer for 2021 per KSA 728202.
I second it.
Any further discussion on Carla as the board treasurer? Hearing none. Those in favor of Carla Fellholter as board treasurer, please say aye.
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 Vote electronically as well. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, looks like that also passed. All right, so previous President Walker was very good at going through the consent agenda so that we were trying to be as open as possible, but since there are 20-some different items, I'm not going to read the consent agenda, but obviously that's available on the boarddocs.com. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Madam President,
Yes.
I would like to pull out 3.14 special meeting minutes for discussion.
Special board meeting minutes. Okay, so done. Any other changes to consent agenda?
I just want to have some discussion on one issue, but we can do that after it's seconded.
Okay, then could we get a motion to?
Did I have clarification? I believe that I have looked at this consent agenda many times, and from what I understand, if we want to discuss an item, we need to pull it out of consent agenda.
If you believe, so my understanding through KASB is that if you are going to have discussion on a consent agenda item you think may change the vote, that's when you pull it out. But if it's just clarification about something that's in there, you don't pull it out.
Can you send me
And
that
that's-
information?
Bill Jeter, our legal, I looked on the website. I just literally did KASB.
And essentially, as a board, you control the consent agenda. You don't have to have one at all.
Right.
If you wanted to vote on all of them individually.
So,
We don't want to do that.
No.
yeah.
Usually, it's supposed to be routine things, like many of these items are routine, that we do it once a year routinely. If it's anything that, I don't know, Craig, is that something that you could change the vote, whatever your discussion is?
I just wanted a clarification.
Okay.
Well, okay. Go ahead and get your clarification down. It's my understanding before the vote.
Okay, it hadn't been seconded, but that's okay. On 3.24, usage fees for Fort Hays State University athletic facilities, I looked that over, is that an increase from last year?
No. It's, and as far as the rate on the football field, it's exactly the same. The soccer is the same. The one that, the tennis courts, they have not in the past charged us previously, but they are having conversation, and at this point, we don't know if that will be a charge or not. But as far as the football and soccer, they're exactly the same.
Okay. I know the middle school uses like the Fort Hays soccer fields. As a district, do we pay that, or does that come out of the middle school?
If we use the soccer field, that would be $250 per game.
I think the middle school uses the practice fields, not the turf field.
I don't have a good answer.
We don't use Fort Hays facilities, we use Bickle Schmidt.
Bickle Schmidt?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that goes through the rec, and I believe that's just part of it, like, they use our facilities. And we use
Good,
theirs.
good.
What about the auditoriums and the swimming pool and all that? That hasn't changed?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
But that's not through Fort Hays.
Right, the swimming school's not, but the auditoriums are. And so are we going to vote again when we find out about the tennis courts?
Well, I can make that aware. If it's an issue, I was just trying to get those fees to you here in July.
Yeah.
If I don't think it's going to hold anything up, if that's what you want to do,
No.
we can get that information. As of today, I talked to Mr. Cramler at the high school, and he said that they were still working on that, but not have the final time. So I was just getting you the fees.
My initial.
They have never charged tennis before, but there might be some consideration that we would, because we're going to hold some tennis tournaments there next year. So there might be a small fee. I would imagine it's not going to be an exorbitant fee, but there could be possible.
Okay. Thank you. My question just was whether there had been an increase or not. Thank you.
So we're still pulling out, which one was that, Alan? Or you've already got it pulled out, Jess?
3.14.
Okay. So at this point, we have a motion but no second to approve with that change. Do I have a second?
Second.
We do? Did somebody second it? You made the motion, didn't you? Yeah, Craig made the
Okay.
motion. So do I have somebody else to second the consent agenda?
With
I
the
second.
changes?
With the
the
change?
change.
Okay, so Lori. All right, so any further discussion? Hearing none.
Shanna, are we needing to do anything with that
It was
contract?
It was updated. to
Okay,
add
it's
that.
fine. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
All right, so all those in favor of the minor change to the consent agenda, please say aye and vote appropriately.
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Lance voted aye.
non-approval, say nay. Any abstentions? Okay. And then we need to refresh so we can see that, refresh our screen so that you can see that change, is my understanding.
That is correct.
Did it on its own? Did you do that?
And where did that go then? Is that in the action items down?
Why don't you go ahead, if you want to jump off and then try to zoom in.
6.1. Okay, great. I see it there.
Okay, okay.
Okay, well, at this point, is there anybody in the public section that would like to say a few words? This is our time for public comment. See no one raise their hands. I'm assuming that's a no. So thank you for all that are being here. At this point, let's hear from Ron Wilson for District Communications.
Okay, super. I'll try to make this quick. Just first of all, I wanted to give you a little update on Roosevelt. I think if you remember last meeting, we talked about going to Plan B because electric panels were not, didn't look like we were going to get our electric panels. Long story short, we worked on Plan B for about 2 weeks and getting everything ready to roll, but then got message that electric panels would be delivered, which is still now compressed because we're 2 weeks later. RDH, who is the contractor, electrical contractor for this, is now had to kind of go back to Plan A and put some work into getting everything ready, which that is ready. There's still, the fear is we're just have now backed everything up. And that's where the project was slated to be finished. Mostly finished by August 1, completely finished by August 15th. Looks like we're going to be pushing that August 15th really hard to have substantial completion. We may not have everything. I have had meetings with Glassman and RDH, and it's no fault of theirs. It's just part of the process that has once again occurred as delays in production has been, just affected. It has affected everyone, and so the plan is that we're still moving forward. That it looks like we will be able to have Plan A in place. We'll have substantial completion. I'm meeting this week with city inspectors so that to see where we can get, see if we can get some partial, building use. As I'm a little worried about our teachers getting into the classrooms prior to the start of school because first day back is August 16th for teachers. And so I want to see if we would have any ability with the city inspectors to give us temporary partial. And so I'm meeting with Glassman and the city inspectors this week to see where we're at for that, starting in August sometime. So this is part of the process that you go through with construction, and this year is very unique with a lot of factors. But every construction project has unique issues. But just wanted to make sure that the board was aware of that, and also that our local companies have done a great job. They've been very open and have communicated well, and are really working hard and working lots of hours to get this project completed. So just wanted to make sure that the board was aware of that. Also, we have a lot of other summer projects going on. I think Wilson Elementary, if you've been by recently, they've got the floor poured for the front new office area, and we should. I don't believe they've started any structure walls, but you should start seeing some structure walls very soon at the front of the building, which will be really fun to see. O'Laughlin, the secured entrance. If you have. Well, they've probably not been in O'Laughlin. It's transforming, I think. Mrs. Burns is still behind the black. She's like the Great Oz behind the black tarp. And as you walk in, she talks to you, but you don't know where she's at. So that's how I make reference to her as being the Great Oz. So, but we're excited to see the progress being made there. Hayes Middle School, of course, is repurposing or reshuffling some rooms, some counseling, and some school sites as well. And so they're turning some temporary older space into those offices, and then have created a classroom out of the new space. Things are progressing well there. Hayes High with the some movement in the office area with Mr. Henderson coming on board. He had some new ideas about how his office should look and be run, and so we've made some changes there to help with how he wants things to fall in place at Hayes High. But they've been a little displaced being a new principal, and they are kind of in their new offices, but it's definitely not finished by any means. So I think they did some painting this weekend. It all went well, right? So had to do their own painting, so they're troopers. So just wanted to give the board a little update on, we have lots of work going on in our district, and it's exciting to see. And it'll be great when everyone comes back in August. Just also remind the board about the board retreat. It'll be a week from today. We will meet at Thursdays at 9 a.m. The morning work will be a little bit of us just having some conversation, doing some look, and as I use this, looking in our rearview mirror about where we have been and what we have accomplished, and a little bit of work in looking through our windshield and where we're going. So we'll do that in the morning, and then Gary Seacrest will be coming in the afternoon to do some work with it. So that will be at Thursdays next week from today. And then July 27th, just want to remind the board that the Kansas Can Success Tour is scheduled to make a stop here at Hayes. Commissioner Watson, 5 years ago, I think that's when he first started, he did a tour, toured the state, talked about what graduates should look like in the state of Kansas. A lot of the work that we have been doing in the state was started from those tours. He's having a second tour, and so Hayes, once again, is, I don't know if they were a site the first time, but they contacted me and asked, will we be a site? And I said, of course. So Hayes High Cafeteria will serve as the site for the Kansas Can Tour on the 27th, which would be the day after our retreat. Of course, once again, if board members can make it, it would be great. But once again, I understand you have lives outside of being just a board member. But we invite the public, we invite staff. We have sent some invitations out today. We'll continue to send some reminders and invite anybody to come. And it's an hour and a half. It's scheduled from 9 to 10:30 on the morning of the 27th at Hayes High Cafeteria. But it'll be some good conversations and giving some stakeholders some opportunity to give some feedback to the commissioner. So those are really the only things that I have.
Ron, is that considered a regional meeting, so anybody from the region is one of the, part of the tour can come to that?
Sure. Yeah, there's, I don't know how many, they're stopping in like 25 towns across the state. And so, anyone can come. And so I've sent it out to our region, I've sent it out to our area superintendents in our area, asked them to pass it on to their staff and to their communities, and so we're inviting everyone. So we'll just see who shows up. But I would hopefully we have some representation from our district, and can give feedback if they choose to.
Ron, I don't know if this is the correct time or not, but I was able to attend 2 out of the 3 meetings with the architects talking about moving the facilities bond issue forward as a district. I just want to thank all the administrators, principals, directors that were on one of the meetings telling about what are the needs of our building, because they are the ones that know what the problems are, where the needs are. Also, I had the opportunity to sit in with the community, and I was so impressed by the people that are on, that have come in from the community, just saying education is important. We should be proud of our schools and the facilities we have. And so I look forward to going to those meetings again, I believe the 26th of next month. 25th of next month.
But just to echo a little what Craig said, yeah, we just had our second bond vision meetings with the community, as well as educational team, as well as the administrative team. All been really insightful, and I think we're on a good step. We've got a good focus, and once again, we have not made any decisions or any, and haven't even begun any of that, but just a lot of great conversation. And focusing on, and one of the things that I've shared with the committees is the theme of coming up in school year is going to be a little bit about pride, and it's kind of unique as I, tried to build this vision of how we're going to, move through this. It's kind of fun to see that even though I had no conversations with any of the people, they were talking about how important pride is in this. So I think it'll be a good message that we can all pull together on.
For people interested in going to any of those type of discussions and meetings, they're not open?
No.
Okay. So there's no place on the web to
Yeah,
go look for it?
you'll have
Okay.
plenty of opportunities once the plan is decided and the board decides to move forward with a bond campaign. At that time, those public meetings would be scheduled.
Okay.
Are
They
there,
would have an opportunity.
is there a reason why there's not board members on, at least some on each meeting, on each committee?
There is.
Yeah,
I thought it was open.
Who are they? I mean,
Craig and I.
so just 2 on 3 committees?
Well, we're not on the teachers committee.
It'd be nice to get more representation so we all hear some of those.
How does that impact Open Meetings Act?
Bill, you can weigh in on that. I would imagine it falls under the same.
As long as you don't have more than 3,
Yeah.
you can have it up to 3. Well, if they're public meetings, they can, as long as they're not participating and discussing,
Yeah,
then it's not an open meeting problem.
I don't.
Ron,
can't
I may have to get back to you.
Yeah, I don't-
It's my recollection under the Kansas Open Meetings Act, any committee that's appointed by the board to make a recommendation of some kind back to the board is subject to the Open Meetings Act.
I would like a notice of all those meetings,
Well, this
please.
isn't that.
So if it's not that, then
Right.
What is it?
I don't know what it is.
It's a superintendent put groups together and he invited Craig and I to go.
Well, we put those committees, that was a board action to have the committees, and we should be part of that, I would think.
assume the committee will be making a recommendation back to the board.
Well, I think the thing is that, yeah, there'd be a plan brought to the board.
Right.
I guess what would the reason be that we shouldn't have a board representation on?
There's not.
Well, I think the thing is we do.
Yeah, we do. What do you mean?
Well, yeah, but, I mean, if there's more that want to participate, they can, right? So
What's that?
if I'd like to participate, I'd like to know when they are. So can I be
Yeah,
notified?
well, sure, yeah, by all means. But
That'd be
the
great.
thing is, I was under the impression that it's subject to open meetings. And so the president and the vice president were just asked to be a part of those committees. It just seemed logical.
But now, so you're going to take Mike off the committee now since he's not vice president? I would think he would need to be
Well,
on,
we can definitely
continue.
do that. I
think he should continue. And I would just like to be more informed and hear it firsthand from the committee and the community.
Well, I mean, there's really no,
It's not-
I mean, there's, yeah.
That sounds good. There's not really, these are mostly just people discussing
Yeah,
or
it's just
listening.
conversation. There is nothing to really
There's no-
report. I mean, at
but
this point, we haven't really.
whatever.
We just had.
There's a difference
Doesn't matter to me.
between attending a meeting and participating in it. So as board members, you could attend a meeting, but you do not want a quorum that is participating in the discussions. If so, then
Right.
it's treated like a board meeting and it needs to be so noticed.
Sounds good.
So can we just get more clarification?
Sure. Oh,
Okay,
yeah, I
good.
definitely.
Okay.
And
Making myself a note
even if
to-
we can or can't go, it'd be nice to know when those meetings are. So if I could get a schedule of those committees, that'd be great.
Well, Alan, I don't want to be difficult. I don't even know. I just told you August 25th. I find out at the meeting when the next meeting is.
Great.
You-
And I just told
know
you,
that information?
and I just told you, could you please share that information? That'd be
I
great.
did. August 25th is the next meeting.
I have that written down, but the next one that you schedule, please
And when I
inform
find
me.
out, I will share that.
That'd be great. Because the other 2 I didn't know about, and I would appreciate have known about it.
Well, I think you did
Well,
because
let's
the
make sure we
I did-
understand. There's
I
no
did share that we
clandestine
were at
stuff
the
going on
first
here.
Longman Division meeting.
We were just invited because we were the president and vice president to attend these meetings. We can obviously change that down the road, but I don't want people to get the impression that we are purposely trying to exclude anybody. They were just just discussions. We haven't made any decision about what we're going to do, not even near that.
That's great. And to be clear, I just want to be more informed, and I would like to hear that from the community. And I don't have to participate, just like negotiations or insurance meeting, just like to attend to get information.
Okay.
So including it in the superintendent report at our monthly meeting
Sure.
would be the appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, I did not include it today only because there's really nothing other than what Craig shared. And I thought we're going to spend a lot of time talking about
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot.
bond. And so I was, in a sense, trying to speed the meeting up a little bit. So we can definitely do that.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
All right. Anything else that you need to add, Ron?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, well, let's move on. I think Shanna Dinkle has some helpers in this, but teaching and learning. Do you want to, I guess, invite whomever is part of the report?
I think I can take it.
Oh, you're doing it. Okay, very good.
I'll give it a try. I can jump in if I can mess something up, which is unlikely. But there are 2 attachments. So as Jess is opening the first one on summer school, I think Craig asked for a report, and I thought that was a great idea. It was a busy June and continues to be busy. It was exciting, though, to offer summer services. We had to rely on grants. The Learning Center, we used at-risk funds for high school. It was a good use, I believe, of our federal ESSER dollars to provide this. It would be our goal to find dollars in the general fund moving forward to offer some type of summer school and continue that. But if we scroll through, Jess has the first one. I do want to give credit. I asked some of the administrators to share information about summer school, and Olivia Rice, who sprinkled her magic decor in this boardroom, sent me this wonderful template, like looked all summery. So I'm like, can I steal that? So I said I'd give a shout out to her. So the first one, if you back up a little bit, Jess, is pre-K. We did have services at Connections from July 6th. Actually, it's running now. That is funded through United Way. There were 15 students identified. I don't need to read all of that on there, but you can take a look at that. So everywhere from pre-K, the next one there is our elementary then. It was the Lincoln, O'Loughlin, Roosevelt, and Wilson. We really targeted K-2 literacy. We also had some students in math. It was held at Wilson with all the construction. We thought that was best, but you can look at some of the numbers there as far as the percent of students who had perfect attendance and then how many students attended for what subject areas. So that was held in June. Next one is the middle school. This is the first time we have had a middle school summer school for quite some time. Mr. Albert reported that they felt that it went really well and would like to continue it. It was also held in June. You can take a look there at the percent of students with perfect attendance, and their focus was both math and reading. You can see there were 13.3 days of average attendance. We did provide transportation for free for those families who needed that at the middle school. And then the next slide is our high school, our Hayes High students. The Learning Center facilitated, but we did have, Hayes High was a site for these students in addition to the Learning Center itself. So you can see there all of the different staff and percentage of classes completed. Of course, with that age group, it's more of course completion so that we get transcripts updated and students stay on track to graduate. So that is there. And then the last one is migrant summer services. Part of our migrant funding, our migrant funding is based on the summer services, so we have had that annually. Starla Gaynor is our migrant liaison. She included some pictures. Just did an amazing job, not only with students, but also scheduled a key with our migrant families is to engage the entire family. So there were 3 family events scheduled. So I wanted to also recognize the work she did and will continue to do. She plans to do a back to school and kind of a jump start for our migrant families. What I didn't highlight on there, but I do want to visit or mention, would be Russ Henningsen, the transportation. It does take a lot of coordination, working with families, summer addresses. Sometimes we pick them up at home, but we drop them up at daycare. There's just a lot that goes on, so I want to thank he and his staff. We had subs who were willing to step in if a teacher, we wanted to be able for teachers to have their summer too, and if they had some things planned, some flexibility. Our custodial staff at the buildings, and then our administrators, they were there to make phone calls, act as secretaries a lot as well, so it was really a team effort, so I want to make sure that we thank them. Any questions about summer services?
Shanna, I noticed it says K-5. I thought it was K-2.
Yeah, well, it was K-2 literacy, but we did have some math, all different grades, maybe a fourth grader. I just put K-5 to...
But the majority were K-2.
Yes, early intervention on the literacy was the target.
The 105 students, most of them were
Yes.
95%.
We had a few who did math for an hour and reading for an hour. It was really just what we need most importantly. But because we had that math person, we used her
Yes.
kind of uniquely.
Yeah, because I understood that it was, the plan was a K-2, and then we've added a few extra who needed it.
Yes. We had K-2 literacy, and then as we visited with the administrators, they said, well, we offer math, and we found a teacher who was willing to do the math. So then that just kind of fell into place the last couple of weeks. We reached out, some of the buildings reached out to the parents.
Great.
And again, thanks to the parents for, committing and bringing them here as well. I forgot to mention them.
Do we have plans to help support those 3 through 5 students who did not get the literacy because of the pandemic, and what's our plan to try to support them?
Our plan will be a lot of what we do. We'll screen, we'll test, we'll do, really try to differentiate at core, but that it aligns well in the timing of moving to a multi-tier system of support, really using our data to add some intervention time at all of our buildings. Those will be the ones that I'm sure will show as in need of some of that targeted intervention. So it'll take a few years to get caught up on that. Now we are fortunate that we were able to have school on site, so I'm hoping we won't see quite the loss that maybe others might.
Great. Thank you.
No, thank you. Any other questions?
No, that's great. I asked the question just so we could get this information out to the community that summer school is important.
Perfect. Yes, it really is. Equally important is our teachers learning in the summer. And Marie Henderson, 8 Days of Awesome is happening. It started just today, kicked off today. She does a great job. She reaches out to other educators in our district to help create the learning activities called Flexes. So I just attached a few things. Licensed to Chill. I think she really probably has a marketing degree because she comes up with some clever things. Licensed to Chill, but you can see we categorize cultivating resilience, harnessing relationships, illuminating behavioral and social emotional learning, ESOL. If you scroll down a little bit, Jess, you can see on that first page, leveraging inclusion and then launching engagement. That's what the CHILL acronym stands for. And those categories were really based on feedback we received from teachers. We sent out a survey and asked them what their needs are and what they'd like to learn more about. And so that's really how this is designed, with feedback from their input. You can see it goes this week and next week, the sessions that will be held, what days of the week, and then the last one, that last third page there are just some of the more specific flex activity titles that fall under each of those categories of learning. So just wanted to give a shout out to Marie and all the work she and her team have done, and we had a great start today, great discussions, day one, so just looking forward to the next couple of weeks of teachers in here learning.
Are these all the teachers, or are they the new teachers?
It's up to, we send it to all teachers, the opportunity, and then whatever, they can make available through schedules.
Okay.
I can report back, and I usually do, is how many teachers and how many sessions. So once we get through and we have all that data, I'd be happy to share what it looked like.
Did I notice, though, that there was somewhere on there that you were also including those that are new, that have yet
Yes.
to begin?
We are targeting some sessions in the next 2 weeks for just new teachers to come in and be intentional about teaching them some things. So we are requiring them to come. If not, Marie will schedule another time for them.
Do we offer it for our substitutes to get their PDC points and
I don't know if
we
we
get-
have any substitutes, anyone really who is part of our local education agency to keep up their professional development points are part of our frontline, My Learning Plan, and they're more than welcome to do any of those. So I'm not sure we've had any sign up. Oftentimes, we will though throughout the year with in-services have some
Right.
people reach out. So we wouldn't, limit them.
if there's space available, they'd be nice if they knew about it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then the other thing on PD, though, I do want to share, well, two things. We are also doing 2 book studies. Leslie Carlene facilitated Shifting the Balance. Our elementary teachers had 6 sessions of that, and she said it went over really well. And then SPED, you guys are doing your students, my students, our students?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah, to finish that one up, it ran through June, the whole month of June into the last week of July.
Yeah.
And it was including special ed as well as general education teachers, collaborating around how to increase inclusion for our students with disabilities across
Good.
all classrooms, all rooms.
That's
Got
great.
some good action plans that we'll share out with people that have been some steps we'll take for the next year to help address the help improve it.
Yeah, we had nearly 30 in the K-5 Shifting the Balance, and with structured literacy, the dyslexia initiative, we just wanted to make sure that we had conversations about what a centered approach, making sure that, we are balanced and centered in our literacy instruction. So there was really good discussion with those teachers. And then I received an email today that Greenbush is a service center, one of many throughout the state, that offered this year some summer learning called Greenbush University. A lot of it was done Zoom, just virtually. But we received word today that we as a district received a top 10 participation across all the districts in the state of Kansas. So our educators are truly lifelong learners and truly take their profession seriously, want to learn more. So we had our educators in our district completed more than 140 other districts across the state. So they're going to provide some snack boxes for back to school, which I thought was very generous. So I just wanted to share that as well, which really, the culture of learning, I think it says a lot about our educators, and I wanted you to know that. The last thing is some new staff training. We will, these are some save the dates. In addition to that, we have some mentor training also, but this would be for all new certified staff to the district. We have some training scheduled for them. We've already had some ELA training as well. So busy here, our teachers are busy. We appreciate everything everyone's doing, but I just wanted to give you an update on some of the happenings.
Thank you.
I ran across some training today that's free from Larnstead Hospital. That is 3-day training, 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon, and you can pick what you want to take. So if you don't mind, I can give you a copy of that.
Sure.
There may be some things that might be educational
Yes.
in that training.
Yes, forward that, and then with our frontline, how we do professional development, we can add things to a calendar, and then teachers can go in there and see what's being offered. So sure, just
Okay.
forward that to me.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Good, thank
All
you.
right. Moving to Chris Hipp, you had some items as well that you're going to
Thank you.
Sure.
A couple of different pieces really to point out. If you remember last month, we do the standard authority to transfer around at the end of the year to be able to close out all the books. We're in the process of finalizing that. The last day of fiscal year doesn't really happen on June 30th. It takes a little while to get all that done, but we're wrapping that up right now. And we ended the year in a pretty good fashion, and a lot of that's due to the federal funds that came in and some of the, what I would say, really creative ways that we've come up to use it. To the tune that we had some money, so as Shannon was talking about with summer school, we see the impact of that. We know we want to be able to do it down the road. We were able to shift around some of the district's expenses this year as we come to the close and basically pre-fund, put some money in at risk to be able to pre-fund to get ready for a couple of years from now when we're done with ESSER money. We'll have some district money set aside to be able to continue summer school. So a couple of the things that we were able to do, some of the curriculum things that we needed, some of the staff extra hours that were put in, some of the substitutes for COVID leaves, along with some of the what did we call it? We didn't call it a bonus. It was for the extra time worked at Christmas time where we gave that. We were able to move some of that back into some federal funds due to some changes in the federal rules right at the end of the year. So we had to be fairly flexible, but it allowed us to put some money into at-risk so that we'll be in a position to be able to fund summer school down the road, and also pre-fund, in essence, prepay a little bit of our sped district assessment for the co-op, which is, I only bring that up because we're also in the process of, as we end the year, we're looking at ways to start to pre-fund rather than in-year fund some of the recurring costs that we have. So that was really the step one in being able to do some things like that, which really just takes some of the pressure off the budget at the end of the year, so you can do things like decide, hey, maybe we want to be able to start looking at summer school down the road. So we're wrapping up the year. The other piece that I wanted to be able to talk to you about is the revenue neutral rate. You'll see in the board packet there is what will be taken to the clerk tomorrow, and there is an updated version. So if you printed your documents, over the weekend, going back through it, looking at making some changes and still in that adjustment phase. But so what revenue neutral rate does, we'll talk about what it does and then how it adjusts the timeline. But what it does basically is we have to notify the clerk if we're going to go above what they're calling a revenue neutral rate. And so, as you know, the state sets state aid based on 20 mills. So the county collects 20 mills, they send that off to Topeka. Well, what happens is, because our county evaluation goes up, because you're setting a number of mills, right, now you're automatically going above revenue neutral. So it would only take like 19.26 mills to fund what the county gave to Topeka to send back to us for state aid. Because the county evaluation went up, it wouldn't take 20 mills to be flat in funding. So by default, any year our county goes up in evaluation, which historically goes up every year, we're going to be in that revenue neutral. We'll be publishing and responding to the new revenue neutral rate law. Our capital outlay does that too, because capital outlay is set at 8 mills. And so with county evaluation going up, 8 mills will generate a little more money. And so now we go above the revenue neutral rate. The one that the board has the most influence on really is our supplemental general fund. And so because the county evaluation goes up, you can see the max number of mills that we would use for supplemental general actually goes down a little bit for next year. So we were at 13.24 last year. The max would be 13.23 this year. So if we fund our general fund at the state average, which is 31%, then basically mill levy stays flat there. And we can fund the increases because of the increase to the county evaluation. So timeline-wise, there's a handout in there that talks about the timeline. So the county notified us by June 15th. They gave us a handout that basically said this is what revenue neutral would be. And of course, general fund and capital outlay put us over the revenue neutral rate. So tomorrow, I'll take what's in your packet there, the handout, to the county to let them know that these are the max of what our mills would be. And then it actually, so that kind of speeds the process up in getting to this point, but then the revenue neutral rate law actually slows things down now. So it won't be until our August board meeting that we'll have our revenue neutral rate hearing, and then follow that with our budget hearing. And then we don't actually have to have the budgets to KSDE until October 1, which will be before that. But our target right now, assuming nothing catastrophic happens, we'll be doing revenue neutral hearing and budget hearing at the August meeting.
So you'll have the budget ready by the August meeting?
Yeah.
So, but you don't take it to KSDE until when? Don't you have them go to see Craig and have him look it over?
Yeah, we do. So that's not required, although your facility.
Best pastors, yeah.
Yeah, we've done, actually this year, they've opened up to be able to do remote like everybody else. So we Zoom. So I've had a couple of Zooms with them as we're getting ready and making sure that we're in the right spot here with what our max mills would be. And then as it progresses, I'll continue doing those. I don't know that I'll go to Topeka just because it's been fairly convenient being able to do it all online with them.
But you send it, so
Yeah,
they have
yeah,
it in.
Yeah, we send it to them, they've got copies, they go through, and then we schedule a Zoom or phone calls after that to follow up.
This is very good information to have. Can we also just have these two forms with us when we, in our August packet?
Yeah, so actually that form that's on there, that's basically gonna be the resolution, that's the revenue neutral rate hearing. So we'll publish 10 days, at least 10 days before that meeting, and then that would be, is what is up for discussion during that hearing, and then what would be the resolution based on that. So yeah, you'll see it again, the final version.
So will you send us the budget when you publish it 10 days before? Can we have a copy of that? Or
Sure, yeah.
before our meeting, so we can have a chance to look at it?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
And just, as you know, right now, it's the formal process of putting together the budget in the budget document. But like, as we talked about last year, really the things that are the most important and that you want to discuss and that we would want to make sure that we're okay with is, we don't have any say over the 20 mills. We set our years ago, we set the capital outlay mills to be 8 to fund our capital outlay. The one that you have the most control of is that local option budget. And so this would be the max. If there is interest in the board to not use the full levy, to basically leave money on the table, then I would want to know that ahead of time, because basically, like I said, the budget conversations are year-long. Putting together the document and doing the hearing is really about setting those mill rates.
Yeah. Do you have an opportunity to, if a couple of us or somebody wants to visit with you about the budget or to look through it or have it explained to us?
Absolutely.
Is that available?
Yeah.
Because that's supposed to be one of our 7 responsibilities is the budget, and so
Right.
I'd like to be more prepared before that final.
Clarification, what you're doing with your budget hearing is you're just giving the school district the authority to spend those dollars. Budget planning, that does happen, and that is an important point of the board, but that in terms of spending, that is what you do on a monthly basis, where you make decisions about what you will spend your budget on, whether you'll approve certain purchases or not. So just for clarification, what the budget hearing is just what is developed and giving the board the authority to spend. You cannot spend over that amount, and you won't even spend probably what you approve. You're going to spend under what's approved. It's just giving you the authority.
Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Thanks, Chris.
Any other questions for Chris? All right. So, moving on, thank you for that. Now, if you have refreshed your screen, you should see then the consent agenda that we pulled out is now titled 6.1, Special Board Meeting Minutes. And so I'll let Alan, if you wanted to,
Yeah.
I guess, share your
If you would
thoughts.
open that up and look at it, and maybe this is for you, Tammy, to clarify, on 1.5, where it talks about Tammy will clarify, is that what you, I just wondered, did you say average increase? I just want to clarify that. I don't remember that you mentioned average increase, but I remember you saying receiving the 3 point.
I don't recall this.
Well, the other clarification on here, it says administrators voted on executive session. We can't vote on an executive session, so we need to get that maybe discussed, or, I don't know, we're not even supposed to put.
Which one are you talking about there? I'm sorry.
After that, item, it says Tammy Wellbrock clarified that all administrators receiving an increase of 3.5 except for 2 administrators voted on executive session. So we're not supposed to discuss what's in executive session, but it shouldn't say voted because we do not vote on anything in executive session. And we did not vote.
No, that's true. You're right. It
So
should
that needs to be
the language
just
needs to be tweaked.
taken out.
Do you
of the
understand
minutes.
that, Jess, what needs to, okay.
I mean, Alan's right. We cannot vote in executive session.
And
So
we
what-
did
but we
not,
did
so that's
discuss the
correct.
issue in executive session, then we came back and, yeah, put it on everything in the
But we're
vote.
really not supposed to say anything that's in discussion in there, so I think Craig said we need to put that in about those 2 administrators, and they're right in there, so that's good. It just, and it was brought up in an open meeting, which is supposed to. So should we just,
What it should say?
I think we just mark, or take that out, where it says after 3.35, just eliminate that last part of that statement. What do you think? To make it,
Take out the phrase, and I'm using quotations here, except the 2 administrators voted on in executive session.
what is the rest of
Or,
the
no, we
board?
should say, except the 2 administrators, period. Because we did not vote in executive session. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, and maybe, I don't know, I think it was Craig that says we should, and we need to mention on the motion. Can you, the rest of the board, help me remember what was taking place on that?
No.
So I do think, though, since there was no vote actually done during executive session, that phrase, which is under 1.5, and it starts out with the sentence, Tammy Wellbrock clarified, ... the very last 5 words needs to come off. That actually say voted on in executive session, because that actually is not accurate.
Okay.
But is that reflecting?
Well, even on that clarification, it was somebody besides you, Tammy, that said, except the 2 administrators. That was added to that statement, or added to the motion.
Well, then, the next sentence says, motion to approve as presented, amended the motion to adjust the salaries of those 2. Doesn't that, I think then that is correct.
Yes. Okay,
Can we
I'm
just-
fine with that.
Since we're just correcting the minutes, we've got to approve the minutes,
Yeah.
but they're executive session minutes.
We don't have minutes in executive session.
No, that's right.
Yeah. So I would entertain a motion to approve the special meeting minutes from Thursday, July 1, with that change in language, with the elimination of the last 5 words voted on in executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Lori seconded. Any further discussion on the special meeting? Then I would ask for those in favor of that, please say aye and vote electronically.
I think we need to
Aye.
make a motion to approve the,
He did, and we've got
oh,
seconded
I'm
by
sorry.
Lori.
I thought it was just on the change, not the minutes, but I'm okay with that.
Well, I said I'm moving, I asked for a motion. Yeah, we're correct.
We're good.
Okay.
So, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And vote accordingly. Any opposed, say nay. Abstention, passes. Now we're back to 5-0, okay? All right, so this is, and I did miss last meeting, but I understand that our next item, 6.2, are the student handbooks. This is the second reading. And so I would entertain a motion to approve the handbooks as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion about the handbooks?
Just a point of clarification, I think it was asked about the driver's license being admitted at the middle school. Clarification with Mr. Albers. Last year we didn't use it, we didn't have any visitors, so that machine wasn't used. There was some confusion about whether the machine was broke. we will have, I believe everything is running and we will have everything running. So that part has been taken
Okay.
on.
Good, good. The only question I have is, I noticed the student handbook number 6.1, that there was a lot of grammatical errors in there, and those will all be fixed. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll go through them.
Okay.
Fine tooth comb.
Okay.
I'm sure they will. They'll have their best grammar Nazi to get them fixed up there. Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion on the student handbooks? All right, hearing none, let's go ahead and vote aye for approving the handbooks, and vote electronically and verbally.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Extension or abstentions? All right, passes 5-0. The next 6.3 item, classified handbook, is also the second reading, so I move to approve the classified handbook as presented. Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on the classified handbook?
There were really, I think, three things that are what I would consider the major changes. A lot of the other stuff is semantics or adjusting some language to our new processes with electronic time cards and things like that. But the three main adjustments would be, as we discussed, as we try to evolve to a singular classified handbook rather than instead of what used to be the custodial union versus everybody else. There's a few things that I feel like raises the tide for everybody, and all of those I think are done in an attempt to acknowledge it is a difficult time to hire. It's a difficult time to find help. We could use more applications than we have right now for most every classified position that we have open. We started doing some radio ads and some other stuff, and hopefully as the students come back to Fort Hays, that'll help some of the situation, the hiring situation around town, and therefore help us also. But the three main things that I wanted to point out that were discussed last time, in every one of these, really when you talk classified, there's three kind of buckets of classified staff, and only in the sense that they get paid for out of three separate funds, not in any other way. So when you think about the USD 49 bucket of money, think about like your general fund and those mill levies and things that we were talking about. You can think of the special ed co-op as another bucket. Again, they're all our employees, there's no differences there, but they do get paid for out of a different fund. And then in a lot of cases, ECC is federal money, and so they're getting paid out of a different bucket. So when we talk about costs, I'm going to talk about the impact on what I would call your general fund, the board general fund. So the first one that we talked about was longevity bonus. That was in place for custodians in the past. I'm proposing that we would make that for all classified staff. Cost of that would be about $15,000 to $18,000. It's kind of hard to estimate some of those until we get into the year, but probably in that area. But that would create one system of longevity bonus for all classified staff.
Chris, just a thought, and not to add on to this, but I was looking at that. One section of our personnel that would not ever be able to get that longevity raise is a lot of our paras, because they're not full-time. There's it says full-time, and we've got some of our paras that's been here a long time, and it's a shame they can't get in on that.
Yeah, that's a great clarification. And so when we talk about full-time there, it's full-time in that position. So that position is defined as 5.75 hours.
Okay.
So as long as they're working 5.75 hours,
Good.
that's one full-time for them. So they would still fall in there.
Okay.
If we had
Glad you
an
asked.
extreme example would be a lunchroom supervisor. That's a 2-hour position. As long as they're working 2 hours, they're one for us in that sense. They're one FTE in that position. So if you were a lunchroom supervisor for 20 years, then you'd be eligible for the longevity bonus. So thank you for bringing that.
Chris, when does that start? I mean, does it start before their raise, or is it immediately the longevity?
If you approve the way it's written right now, it would be effective, what we would back it up to or we would say effective right now, and so that would be anybody July 1, basically.
Sounds good.
And how many people does that affect?
I don't have the full numbers, it's about $18,000 worth. I'm going to say on the district side, it was maybe 15 people, something like that.
And that starts after how many years? I'm
It
sorry.
starts after 6 years with steps. So after your 5th year, starting your 6th year, after your 10th year, starting your 11th year, after your 15th year, starting your 16th, and then the last step would be after your 20th year, starting your 21st.
All right. Any other discussion? Thank you, Chris, for all that. The motion has been seconded, so I would ask for a vote. Say aye if you support this motion,
Aye.
Aye.
and vote electronically. If opposed, say nay.
Nay. Oh,
Abstention?
Madam President?
Yes.
Just clarification, maybe because I'm all the way down here, I didn't hear, when did our board member Bickle exit? At what time was that?
Do you have that, Jess, as
Was that
exiting?
written in the minutes?
I'll tell you. I'll find out. I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 5,
It's been 5-0 for all of this action discussion items. I believe it was sometime
that
during the
needed to be
reports.
presented it that he left the meeting, whenever it was.
Okay, we'll find out what it is.
Okay, moving to district technology, you're going to look for that, and
Yep.
I'm going to go on.
Yeah.
District technology network replacement. I understand again, this was discussed at the last meeting, which I unfortunately was not able to attend. But I would make the motion to approve the bid as presented for our district technology network replacement. Do I have a second?
Second.
Craig has seconded, thank you. And at this time, any discussion? And
Any
if
changes
so, do we need to ask
to be
Scott to
noted?
come to the podium? Do you mind coming to the podium then, Scott? Thank you. What was that, Alan? Were you
Any
asking?
changes that we found out since the last reading?
No changes. I know some of the questions around device compatibility with that new wireless. Later on, that emergency connectivity funding, if that's approved, some of that equipment would use the Wi-Fi 6, but that was really the only thing. Question-wise, I think everything was answered last meeting, but no changes.
And the old equipment, we're going to go through surplus, or?
The old equipment will be surplused off. There are a couple surrounding school districts that still utilize that equipment that have.
Like the old cameras and things like that, there should be value in those. The old cameras, do they have
Oh,
value?
you're talking
This is
the
the
security.
network.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the network.
Any equipment, I guess. There's some value in what you.
Yes,
replace it. Okay.
we'll get what we can for it. If not, any equipment we get rid of, I'll contract with recycler on. So
I
even
know
if there
you
is
do
no
a good job
value
with
to it, it's disposed of properly, and we get certification back on that, be it hard drive destruction or just that, it wasn't just thrown in a landfill. But as far as the network goes, we would try to, share with our surrounding districts if there's some equipment that will help them get by. With it being 7 years old, there's not a large need for it out there, especially with E-rate cycling over this year. In talking with our consultant, a lot of districts across the state are doing network refreshes this year, so a lot of equipment coming out. Great.
Scott, as I said at the last meeting, I appreciate you going with the E-rate and finding out all that and finding where we can get the equipment and save us some money on this, so thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Yes,
Any other discussion?
I think it's excellent.
So escape while you can, Scott. I will call for a vote. All those in support of this bid as presented, please say aye and vote electronically. Go ahead and verbally say aye.
Aye.
If opposed, say nay. Abstain. Okay, this passes 5-0.
I didn't get it.
Very good.
Okay.
All right, so the next item is new building number for virtual program.
Yeah, this is just a,
You wanna
just a simple little,
That's right.
I guess, action that I need the board to take. Just starting this year, all district virtual educational programs in the state are being required by KSD to have their own individual building numbers and not be connected to another school building, like our learning center is connected to our high school currently. And they want this done before the start of the 21-22 school year. It just needs approval from the board to take this action. And once that window opens up for us at the state level, we'll make that request and get that building number for employees.
Okay. Well, I would like to make the motion to approve the application for new building number for district virtual program. Do I have a second?
Second?
So is that you, Lori, you moved?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
all right. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, let's go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor of this approval of the application, please say aye and vote electric accordingly.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Abstain. All right, that vote passes 5-0. So board committee appointments, you should have a form there, and this is not subject to a vote, but I would love for people to express their interest. Some are possibly being asked to continue if you are so wanting, and then there are a few positions that I know both Mike Walker and Lance Bickle, their last, we probably would want to, and I don't know that Michelle's in any of them, but at that point, probably replace Mike and Lance, because we know they won't be able to do it for the full year. So I'm just going to go down the list, and if your name was there that you were interested in, I'll give you first right. So Lori Hurdle is our board member for the Early Childhood Connections Policy Committee. Lori, do you want to continue, or do you want me to open it up?
Is it okay? Okay, yeah.
I'm seeing crowd approval, so Lori, we're going to keep you there. Is there somebody interested in taking Mike Walker's place on the Hayes Area Children's Center Board?
I can do that.
Did I hear you want to do that, Lori?
I can do that one too.
Okay. KASB Convention Representative, obviously we didn't have a convention last year. I know I'm put as something for KASB.
I think you were last time.
I think you were the vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my name wasn't there. I don't mind doing that again. I'll just go ahead
I
and
was
keep.
the alternate, so.
Okay, so do you want us to start putting alternates on this list? Which we certainly can do, alternate.
It's actually your list, so you do what you want to do.
Okay, I like that. So Alan will also serve as the alternate. Okay. USD 489 Foundation for Excellence Board. Lance was part of that. And is somebody interested in that?
I would mind being part of that.
You would like to be?
Sure.
Okay. Hayes Recreation Commission Board. Craig, you...
This doesn't reflect right. We changed that during the year Alan has been on the Hayes Rec Commission, not myself.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So Alan, do you want to serve in that role again?
Sure.
Okay. Now, I do understand that a community member is appointed by us for the Hayes Recreation Commission Board. Dr. Jeff Briggs has asked to step down. And so what we normally ask for applications, or so I need to get with you on that. Okay. All right. And then the Technology Committee has been Lance Bickle, and asking if somebody has an interest in that.
I do.
Craig does? Okay. And then I noticed that there's an opening to replace Marty Straub, so I'll get with you on that as well, Ron. Great.
You're just in charge of the board.
The board.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, do you have all those reflected? I can send you what I've got too, Jess, if that works. All right.
And Madam President?
Yes.
Can we revisit that, like in December, when we get new board members, and maybe to add or to include more people?
You know, I don't think
That's
that's a bad idea. Maybe we do it in February. You
That'd
know,
be a
give
good
them
idea.
yeah.
That's a great idea.
I'm making notes for, let me do that real quick.
And in some of those cases, can you have more than one, or we could have that discussion later?
Yeah.
As long as we don't go over open meetings of more
Yeah.
than 3.
Okay. All right. So at this point, there is a new item, emergency connectivity funding. Ron, can you share more
You bet.
about this?
So this is part of the Rescue Act, American Rescue Act of 2021, which is part of coming out of COVID. These are federal funds that are available that our district would like to take advantage of. Basically, in a nutshell, it's going to give us the opportunity to secure some money, up to $400 per staff device, which I think equates to like $440,000 for our district, for the purchase of student devices at the high school and staff devices at K-8. And basically, it's just a great opportunity that our district has. I think Scott has a lot of information. You want to come up and share anything?
Yeah, as Superintendent Wilson stated, so this came up, the application window is a 45-day window. It's open right now through mid-August. All the machines listed here, the 900 student machines at Hayes High and the 200 staff K-8, those are machines that were going to be in our rotation at the end of this year. So we're basically just bumping those up as the oldest machines. That's where we identified the greatest need and potential replacement. The reason why it's coming to you tonight and kind of that push is in talking with Dell, the cost on equipment right now, they're kind of holding off price increase, but August 1st, they're predicting anywhere between a 10 and 20% price jump, and guessing somewhere mid to late fall, maybe another 10% jump as we approach Black Friday and Christmas. They don't see that chip shortage stopping, so the demand of consumer electronics at that time period is going to increase cost even more. So that's why the push is now. If we can get board approval on it, we are working with our E-rate consultant to get all the paperwork filed. If that's all approved, then we could go forward with it before August 1st. The other piece of this, and I've been working with Chris on that, is funding for it. If it weren't approved, or even if it is approved, Dell has secured us 2 years financing on it as well. And the way that that billing would work out, we'd have the potential to pay over 3 fiscal years. So the cost could be spread out even too.
So there's, in essence, what I'm hearing from you, there's kind of 2 opportunities that this window presents. One, the existing price, knowing that it's going to jump here in a few days.
Price protecting us.
And then the window for the funds itself.
Yes.
Which the funds savings is $440,000, let alone
Yes.
the jump that's unknown.
Yes, and we are taking a bit of a step up in machine that we, over what we have now. The student machine, it would be a step up in the processor, a step up in RAM, and then across all of that, we're adding VMware's Carbon Black security. And the justification for that was when they're looking at these machines and the ability to need to be remote if that were to happen again, that would just be an added security feature to those machines being remote. So they're, the machines, are a step up from what we have now, so we are getting a little bit better as we move forward too.
So
Well-
basically the plan, oops.
No, go ahead.
Basically the plan was we were going to buy computers anyway in about
Yes.
6 months, maybe a year. we're moving things up a bit, and we're also getting money to help us pay for those, right?
Yes.
And I think because of the work that you've done in creating schedules and creating a plan allows us to be very nimble to take advantage of these cost savings. So kudos to your foresight in getting all that. I'm assuming this will change somewhat, the time frame, timetable, or not necessarily?
Not necessarily, because if this order is put in, part of the cost you see here is warranty all the way across the board. That's the support on the device, and that's accidental damage. Well, 4 years on the student, 5 years on the staff. And then included in that is the imaging of the machine and the asset tagging by Dell. So the imaging of the machine, we're gonna have some back and forth with them. They'll send us machine, we'll build it the way we want, ship it back. They run some tests on it, ship us back another machine as proof that it works the way we want it to. So in doing all of that, and just delivery timelines right now are kind of a mess. Even in an order put in now, we don't anticipate delivery of those until probably November or December. And the hope would be if we could have them by December, roll them out for a second semester. So we're putting the machines into use a full semester prior to what we would normally. So we could continue to run them through, and we'd run them that extra semester, that last school year, but it shouldn't affect our timeline then. Everything should still fall in the rotation as planned.
Okay. Well,
Scott,
Yeah.
I am voting to approve, but I just have we have a technology committee, and
Yes.
I understand the timeline, and I don't want to miss that deadline, but I think it would be important, and I'm looking at the technology committee, most of them are maybe available. If there's some way we can, I just think we need the input from Tom and from Sean and from Anita and the teachers at each one of the areas and the community members, even if it's after the decision, get input as we're doing this.
Yeah, and that, I would say that is probably probably the biggest negative in this push is that those conversations we would have had over the next year do kind of get accelerated. So, but yeah, I'll reach out to the committee and have that discussion.
I was just looking at that committee since now I'm on it. Do we still have a couple of community members on that committee?
Yeah.
Okay, it didn't reflect, but okay.
Yeah, I told Scott, he just noticed that.
All right.
What you got was just a list for the board.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
because they are valuable.
Yes.
okay. Well, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the proposal that Scott had presented.
A second?
Second.
All right. Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion at this time? Hearing none, let's go ahead. And for those in favor of approving this purchase and taking advantage of the savings, please say aye verbally and vote
Aye.
electronically.
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Abstain. Looks like it passes 5-0. Thank you, Scott, for all you're doing, and appreciate that.
Thank you. I told Ron this earlier. We've done a lot with technology this year, so I really appreciate that.
Well, and I guess if there's a silver lining to a global pandemic, we're going to try to look for it, right? And get the funding.
You know, he's kind of deferring that a little bit in terms of he has done a great job, and we've had some good conversations this year. We've made technology a priority, and part of that was pandemic related because we had to rely on our devices way more than even we thought we could rely on devices. And so we've done a lot of work to upgrade technology, and I think it's going to pay off in the long run for us. Really appreciate it, Scott.
Good. All right, thank you. Thank you. At this time, if there are board members that would have future meeting agenda requests, please share them. We will, that gets to be the role of working with Ron in setting future meeting agendas, but anything at this time?
Madam President?
Yes.
Yes, we've talked about this before, and I was just wondering if it's possible that we put on the agenda, like facilities, all the things that we're going to be doing. That's an issue for the bond issue. And, you know, we had talked about the master plan that we have. Could I get it? You mentioned you were going to give us a copy of that. Could we get that, what we had at the board, that talked about the soccer fields and things like that?
Yeah, it's in, yeah, I can email, but you have access to it, you realize that. It's in your board docs.
Board docs, yeah.
That satellite plan? I mean, okay.
Yeah, so it would be in January of 2020. Should be able to locate that. But
Okay,
if you'd
great.
like for me to email it, I'll do that.
That'd be great. Thank you. And then, like, I would also, the cost of our satellite programs, I mean, that's going to be in facilities, like the Learning Center. I know there's a certain amount, you know, maybe a yearly cost, and the new special ed program. And then what's the updates, of what do we have plans on moving those off of district property, and then what's our plans to try to, I mean, are we going to be able to move them to another building in the district, or we know we don't have any space anywhere? Also, like the cost of the new office space, we talked about that at other meetings, and if you could give me, or give the board that, how much it costs for the new office.
What office is that?
So that's all, the one that was done with
So,
in-house, and we had a bid. Do we have a bid process for the people that helped outside of?
I don't think anything outside was.
Well, we had that one, the concrete mason people were,
Yeah.
was that bid?
I'd have to go back and look and see. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think it was bid.
Any one piece of it being over. One is that we were doing most of it ourselves. I'd have to go back and check.
But I had heard at one point it was around $50,000 for the total project, but I don't know if that's accurate.
I don't know.
Since these are future agenda items, I'll work with Ron, and they may or may not be put on, but at that point, we'll.
Those are just all topics in that facility thing, maybe.
Okay.
We could talk about.
Okay.
The other thing that I would separate is for our policy on administrative contracts. It seems like we spend a lot of time in negotiations, and we spend a lot of time discussing the teacher contracts, but when it comes down to administrative contracts, it seems to be rushed, and we don't really have a lot of input or talk about it. So I guess we're starting early. We could have that on the, just in general, the policy, not individuals, but just policies and what we're planning on doing, and what's, you know, and then we maybe, then in future, maybe get some comparisons, because I know in some cases we compare other districts, but we have not yet got comparisons on what we're doing. And if it's fair, like, who are we missing out if we give somebody a bump? What other administrator, are we keeping track of that? And do we have access to that information?
Okay.
If that makes sense.
All right.
Well, one other thing.
Oh.
I do want to mention that my wife retired, and Jess did an outstanding job with a retirement breakfast, and Ron did a great job of making them feel real special, and I really appreciate that. It was a really great venue and it was just a nice way to tell those individuals thank you. I did have one question. Did we miss anybody last year during the pandemic? Did everybody that retired last year get the same? Can we check on that?
They wouldn't have gotten the same type of.
But like the same gift and everything? We might check on that, because I heard that we missed one, but I'll talk to you and see. All right, thank you.
And I would like to check into me being hired as a grammar check.
You'd like to be hired?
The grammar checker.
Unfortunately,
It's
we can't
volunteer.
hire.
It's volunteer.
You can't be hired, but you can.
All right. Now, I'm unsure, since we had a request for an executive session, from Board Member Allen as far as, but we didn't have one otherwise, so okay, so.
It's okay.
At that point, let me, and I didn't write this down as far as what it was you were asking for. I've got the public comment, but what was the reason for going?
For safety, staff, students, and
So,
school safety.
I make a motion to go into executive
Number
session.
7.
Number
Which
7,
one?
thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I don't know, what exemption does that fall under?
KSB said that since it's into safety, that it would be best to do it. You would need to be part of it in executive session.
Security issues?
Security and safety.
So so I'll read to you in the public comment, motion to go into executive session for matters relating to the security of the board, the school buildings or facilities, or the information system of the school in order to ensure the security of the school buildings or facilities, and/or the information system of the school are not jeopardized. So that would be, okay, so that would be, okay, so I make the motion to go into executive session pursuant to Kansas Open Meetings Act for the purpose of matters relating to security as read, and the open meeting will resume in this boardroom so it's 8:20 now. Do you think 10 minutes is good?
Yes, I don't.
So I'd like to take a 5-minute, no, do we need a 5-minute break? We do. So I'd like to first take a 5-minute break, and we'll begin executive session 8:25 and end at 8:35. That's the motion. Do I have a second? Say what?
Who do you want? You'll list.
Oh,
In addition to the
thank you.
board.
In addition to the board, I would like the administrative staff, is that what I call? Superintendent, and then the assistant superintendents and our legal, along with board members.
Kyle, too?
Is that, and Kyle? I guess I was saying assistant, that's not right?
I'm not an assistant superintendent.
So those 4 right there, and 1.
We're going to deputize you right now. Raise your right hand.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Craig seconded, so all those in favor, say aye and vote accordingly.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Say nay. Okay, so I'm guessing that's a 5-0 recess and executive session.
Okay.
Okay, 5-minute recess.
Where? I think we're meeting, are we exiting?
We're gonna do 5 minutes here. Oh, yeah, we'll be here. Oh, it's open.